This episode of Sideline Warning is brought to you by Roosport, makers of the original magnetic running pouch. Whether you're biking, running, hiking, or even traveling, the Roosport clips to your waistband with magnets for an easy, convenient way to carry what you need without the bulk of belts or bags. Visit theroosport.com and take a look at their products, sizes, and colors and find the Roosport pouch that's right for you. That's theroosport.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sideline Warning, the show where sports takes are sure to go way too far into the field. Here to recap this week's biggest and best sports stories are your hosts, Dave Adams, Ben Foster, and Adam Russell.
Welcome everybody into Sideline Warning, episode 34. You have the golden voice of the Southeast. Once again, Dave Adams here with you. And I have brought my friends, like I do every week, all the way from Birmingham, Alabama, the one, the only Hollywood, Ben Foster. Good morning, Ben.
Oh, where am I? Who am I? Why are we recording in the morning? What is this?
Well, because we tried to record on Wednesday, and you had a concert to go to.
I did have a
then
concert to go to.
Then we tried to record on Thursday, and you had a concert to go to.
I did have a concert to go to.
Then we talked about recording Friday night, and guess what, Ben?
I think I had a concert that night.
With friends and co-hosts like you, Ben, I don't know how we get anything done.
I'm just a musical guy.
Well, let's kick it on down to our other co-host who was ready to record on Wednesday, on Thursday, and probably on Friday, all the way from the House of Mouse, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Orlando, Winter Garden, an hour and a half northeast of Tampa, Adam Russell.
I love how we're expanding the description. That's fantastic. I also just want to note, though, when we all got online, I was the first one on Skype ready today, too. So I've been amped for this for days, guys. I can hardly hold my excitement anymore.
It's breakfast with the Sideline Warning crew.
Yes, even though you're probably going to be taking this in like you always do in the afternoon. But this is breakfast for us for the Sideline Warning crew. How are you doing? Good morning, everybody. I was expecting a response, Ben, Adam.
Oh, I thought you were saying good morning to the listeners.
I thought you were saying good morning to the listeners as well.
Well,
I'm doing so well that last night I made a Whataburger run after the concert just so I could have a cold beverage to leave on the end table next to my couch so I'd have a cold drink ready to record with. I'm now holding that up, and it is delicious.
See, and now I'm thirsty. Ben's living in 2050. We're all just stuck in 2018.
Oh my gosh.
The future are Whataburger soft drinks. That's all there is in the future.
So let me ask you this, Ben. Is there still ice available in said Whataburger drink?
Yes, because Whataburger is a quality institution that uses styrofoam cups.
And I bet they still use plastic straws, don't they?
They do. The straws are plastic.
Unlike a certain institution theme park down at Disney World. Animal Kingdom, I'm looking at you.
Hey, Dave, how many holes are in a straw?
There are 2 holes in a straw.
Adam's shaking his head, and Adam's an engineer.
There's one cylindrical hole in the straw.
See, guys, this is what happens when we record early in the morning.
I think we've gotten ourselves into a hole.
Yeah. Well, let's start digging ourselves out of said hole. Since we were
one more thing about holes and straws. I've got to say this. That question has been circulating on the internet, and the way you calculate the number of people that believe there's 1 hole versus 2 holes, the way you figure out what the populace thinks, you do a straw poll.
Oh, that's good. Sorry,
okay, I'm done. I'm
So
sorry.
we're going to tie this together because I got a way to tie this together. You ready? Here comes the segue. So Ben, a good friend of yours and mine who works in the media down in Birmingham, asked a straw poll at the media days at the championship game, is a hot dog a sandwich? You know, that's another controversial topic.
That's not controversial. A hot dog is not a sandwich.
A hot dog is not a sandwich. Nick Goulis, I hope you're listening because a hot dog is not a sandwich. But,
guys, don't get me started. It is. We're going to have to talk that one day.
Okay. This same friend was at SEC Media Days. So there's how we segue into the strange topics into SEC Media Days. You ready? Did you like that segue? I'm proud of it.
That was strong, Dave. That was strong.
Yes, thank you. So SEC Media Days happened last week, and it wasn't in Ben's hometown last week for the first time ever. It was in Atlanta, Georgia, at the NCAA College Football Hall of Fame. Guys, first off, what did you think about moving the SEC Media Days away from Birmingham, away from the SEC home office?
I mean, I'm not mad at them for it. I think that the venue of the Hall of Fame provides the perfect spot to have it, and it seemed like from watching the coverage that it laid out in a way that made sense. It wasn't like they were cramming a square peg into a round hole. I mean, I don't have a problem with it rotating either, but I thought it was neat to see it in Atlanta.
I would actually like for the SEC to rent out SEC Media Days. I'd like for them to do it convention style, because that's what it is. It's a big convention, and they ought to let cities bid on it so the SEC makes even more money. It is already a huge media event for the SEC network, for the conference. They should let cities bid on it and vie to have it. And it's press conferences, and the media are going to travel wherever these coaches are. So if Seattle wants to host SEC Media Days, let Seattle pay top dollar. The journalists and the TV guys will fly out there. They will fly to Seattle. They'll have a good time. They'll get to, Honolulu. That'd be a great SEC Media Days. Also,
the SEC Media Days needs to be in the southeastern portion of the United States.
Yeah, but that's confirmation bias, Dave, because you're the golden voice of the Southeast, so you can't really have an opinion on that.
See, that's the thinking, Dave. That's the thinking. You think it's SEC Media Days, but it's SEC Media Days. So you should do it in a large media city and expand the SEC's brand outside of the Southeast.
So we're putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable?
Yes. The emphasis is on the wrong syllable.
So what if we said SEC Media Days, and then it's one day in multiple places?
It'd be like a traveling road show.
Okay, we're digressing very, very, very quickly.
The main issue with SEC Media Days is that we were not there, and we were not issued a media pass.
I agree.
I think that we need to make that happen next year. So, gentlemen, save up your vacation. The third week in July, we probably need to be there next year.
I'm game. I think we should do that. Let's get some press passes. We will take Sideline Warning on the road.
I mean, the I Am Geek guys went to the Houston Comic-Con, which was the biggest Comic-Con in Texas. So I think that Sideline Warning, which is an Alabama podcast, needs to be where Alabama is, don't you think?
That actually poses a really good question. Is the cosplay better at Comic-Con or at SEC Media Days?
Depends on if you consider wearing a jersey cosplay.
Right. Or also depends.
There's a lot more than jerseys going on at SEC Media Days. I'm looking at you, championship ring head guy.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So the spectacle was there. We know what the spectacle's like. So let's really dive into it. I kind of want to say which coach do you think won SEC Media Days? And I'm going to give you one that's probably a little out of left field. But first, I want Adam and Ben, your opinion.
Which coach won Media Days?
Yes, which SEC coach won Media Days? Because every SEC coach, there is one every year. There's a coach that wins over the media, and everyone swoons all over him.
This guy, you guys are going to be a little surprised here. This guy that I think won Media Days not because everybody swooned over him, but because he exceeded expectations, and that's one Gus Malzahn.
Okay.
I think Gus Malzahn got a lot of favorable reviews, and a lot of people said maybe Auburn's not going to have the down year we think they're going to have. And I think Gus Malzahn actually looked confident and composed and came across better than he has in previous Media Days.
Well, and that brings up one of the issues I have with Media Days. But I'll answer your question first, Dave. I honestly think that the the best way to win a media days is to come out as a first-year coach and present yourself really well. And I have to say, even though he came across to me as kind of a pastor on TV a little bit, I liked the way Chad Morris presented himself. I don't know that great things will happen on the field, but I think as far as the face of Arkansas football, I was impressed by what he threw out there. I will say, though, that on the other side of that coin, I don't know what Mississippi State was thinking with Joe Moorhead. Maybe there's something there that isn't in the public persona the way that he presents himself, but he felt like he just seemed like he was a little bit out of his element.
I'll tell you what, Adam, I'm going to strongly disagree with you.
Yeah.
Because I thought Moorhead won media days.
Really?
Yeah, just the way he came across. He came across because, okay, he was the head coach at Fordham or whatever.
Yeah.
Then he got brought on as the offensive coordinator at Penn State. So he has never seen a spectacle like this in his life. But he gets up there at SEC Media Days and talks to everybody like they're his best friend. I mean, he joked. Somebody said, what was your first boom year in the SEC moment? He said, I walked out of my house in Starkville and I started sweating. And he said it like that, sweating. He made himself sound Southern. And he said, I'm not used to that. And everything else that y'all do, everything is bacon wrapped. I love it. So he kind of endeared himself to the Southern crowd. No one knew who Joe Moorhead was going into this, and I think people are talking about Joe Moorhead now. In fact, they asked him, what was your first interaction with the team? He said, I texted everybody on the team and said, I need your ring finger size. He didn't say for a national championship. He didn't say for an SEC championship. He just said, I need your ring finger size. He didn't promise.
Are they going to be champions of life? And they could be champions of life and get rings. That's a good way to get a ring.
They're taking the UCF path now, and they're just going to claim whatever they can and make a ring of it.
Well, no, the other thing.
They're definitely cheese champions. They've got some good cheese over there.
And ice cream.
Ice cream's good too.
The other thing that Moorhead did that really impressed me is everybody asked him, okay, you're coming off the heels of this great SEC coach, Dan Mullen, and he brought Mississippi State to the forefront. He stopped people in that question and said, Mullen was great, but Mississippi State has only had one winning season in the SEC in the last 10 years. People forget that Dan Mullen didn't really make a living winning the SEC. So Moorhead made a point to say, Mullen was good, but he wasn't the god that everyone is making him out to be in Starkville. So he kind of made his shoes that he has to fill a little smaller. And I think, to me, that made a lot of people open their eyes and think, oh, well, maybe we pegged Mullen as a little bit too much of a savior. And Mississippi State wasn't good, save that 1 year in 2014.
It's really kind of an amazing stat, so it is good that he reminded people of that. It also helps kind of manage expectations a little bit. It's like, hey, if I give you one winning season, you guys ought to be really happy with me.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. When I hear, like, I guess I just wasn't as blown away as you are, and that's why we have this show with 3 different people. But when I'm hearing his, like, we're going to take the Bulldogs from good to great, I'm like, okay, so you read that business book. And he's like, I don't think there's harm in us talking about winning a championship. Well, you're supposed to. That's your job, man. And it was just like, get in there, dude. Come on. I don't know.
Literally, as you said that, I spotted good to great on my bookshelf. There it is.
Going, guys. We're gonna get momentum around the flywheel. It just, it just came across to me like he's gonna be okay at Mississippi State, I think. But I don't know.
How many Mississippi State fans know that's a business book?
Okay.
It may have sounded like a really original idea, is what I'm saying. People,
Dave said, so he gets a 0.
That Moorhead, he said we're going to get good to great. That guy's smart. I love how he's thinking about these things.
Y'all, okay.
Where does he get this stuff?
I
never would have thought about that. I've always thought about being good. I wasn't even thinking about great. He is blowing my mind.
I am so glad that we don't have any downloads in Mississippi right now.
The only great I've ever experienced is a Whataburger Coke at 9 o'clock in the morning.
It's Dr. Pepper, Adam. Hey, but come on, it's Mississippi. They don't have Whataburger.
We're overdue to catch up with Stingray, so...
Yeah. I mean, Mississippi does have Bully Burger in Starkville, and that's the best burger I've ever put in my mouth.
I can't believe I can't believe they do that to that poor bulldog. They turn him into burgers.
Oh.
I'm going to rein us back in this time, Dave. So I can't believe that after leaving Alabama, Jeremy Pruitt gets up there and puts on the love fest about Fulmer that he did, man.
I will say this. Jeremy Pruitt did have the best quote in my mind of the day. Somebody asked him, said, well, since you've accepted this head coaching job at Tennessee, have you and Nick talked about, has Nick given you any advice? And Jeremy Pruitt gets up there, he stares a death hole into this media guy, journalist, and he says, now, do you really think Nick has shared any advice with me since I've joined the enemy? He said, yeah, you have to glean every piece of advice you can from the man before you join another team, because once you join another team, he will not talk to you about what to do.
Yep. Yeah. I thought you were going to say his best quote was, what was it? He said, that's the power of the T.
Well, that made me gag a little bit. I mean, yeah, seeing a guy that used to that played in crimson, that coached in crimson, wearing that ugly orange hurt me a little bit.
Power of the T.
The power of the T sounds like something you'd get handed at a Tennessee tailgate to drink. You see like a guy passed out in a folding chair, and you're like, "What's wrong with him?" That's just the power of the T.
So is that their version of the Yellowhammer?
Yeah,
there you go.
They're gonna have some Tennessee tea going around, the Pruitt tea.
There you go.
And can I make a request of since we're in the media, quote unquote, because we do a podcast, right? Can everybody just stop asking Kirby Smart if last year's play haunts him?
I mean, of course.
That is such a throwaway question. You got the dude up there who's turning a program around that hadn't seen success like this in forever, and that's the best that some of these guys still have to throw at him. I just can't believe it.
If I was Kirby, I would have been asked the question enough that now I would just start making fun of it and be like, yeah, actually, I woke up in a cold sweat last night.
Just start looking over your shoulder right at the podium.
Get real jittery and just start like letting the steam out from your collar. I gotta be honest, guys. I'm not even going to answer that question because I'm having a panic attack right now.
Second and 26. Okay, so we are the Alabama podcast, so we need to talk about what our humble leader talked about. So we saved the best for last. Let's talk about what Nick Saban said on Wednesday. So basically, Nick Saban gets up there, and the first thing he says is, before you ask, no, I haven't made a decision on the quarterback. And guess what one of the media members asked him?
Have you ever read the book Good to Great?
Yeah.
Yes, they asked about quarterbacks. I'm scrolling through here trying to find his answer because he said a lot.
I'm pretty worried about that answer because he said so much. Usually Saban gets his info out in a minute or two, but this was a pretty lengthy response where he's like, I'm going to decide. I haven't decided. We're going to give them both a chance. It could be either one of them. We're going to find a role. And it was almost too extensive, which makes me think that it really is an issue for Saban.
Yeah, so there was that one, but then there was also the question here. I'm going to read the question. I'm going to read Nick's response verbatim. You ready? Nick, it's 47 days until the opener, kind of late in the offseason. Do you expect Jalen to be on the roster on opening day or even with the team? So I kind of respect what the journalist is doing here. Instead of just straight up asking him, Nick, have you made up your mind on the quarterbacks? He went around it and said, well, if Jalen's transferring, so it means Tua is the starter. So here's Nick's response. Well, I have no idea. I expect him to be there. I think it's our job to give both players a very fair opportunity to have a chance to win the team at their position. I think that one of the two guys, obviously, both are capable, will create a role for one or both of these guys on our team. They'll all have to make a decision based on what that outcome is as to what their future is, at Alabama. We certainly would love for every player on our team to stay at the University of Alabama and graduate. Jalen has had a great opportunity to do that in December. We are hopeful that he will stay there and be a graduate regardless of his circumstance as a player. But that's not to minimize his chances of being a starter and making a contribution to our team in some way, even if he isn't the starter. What do y'all glean from that response?
That he's trying to say whatever he can to not make Jalen leave, in my mind.
Do you think that he's made up his mind by that answer?
That Saban's made up his mind, or Jalen's made up his mind?
Saban.
I think it seems to be, especially how he's talking about the graduating and all of that sort of stuff. I kind of think he's communicating to Jalen through that. He's talking to Jalen in that part of the press conference more so than he's talking to the media. And his argument is, stay here and graduate and be a grad transfer so you don't go somewhere and sit out a year.
Yep, I agree.
And I think that is the main selling point right now for Jalen Hurts to stay around, because it is hard to imagine the team wants Jalen to start ahead of Tua. And I know we like to make this out as a coaching decision, but I continue to say it's who the players want winds up being the starting quarterback.
Yeah,
and I don't think they dislike Jalen. I just think they like Tua more, and I think they're going to show that in how they play.
And that point was made too about winning the team over, right? And I was on the fence either way. I mean, Jalen's the one that got us where he was, but Tua is the one that won it. But I sent you a link last night, Dave. I think it was former Mississippi State quarterback. Was it Matt Wyatt?
Yeah, it was.
Broke down all of Tua's 77 passes for the year, like breaking down the coverage and how he read it, and just looking at his execution in the national championship game.
It was flawless.
It was absolutely flawless. He knew what he was going to do as soon as the ball was snapped, and how everybody reacted in like less than a second almost sometimes. And I think when you look at that, I think Tua's role is going to be the quarterback, and I think Jalen is going to have a role. I think there's certain packages and certain sets where you need that body style, that body size, and that running type to get the yards, to get the points. But I think Tua's got to drive the offense, because his decision-making, not just that he threw the pass that won the game, but the way he goes about it when you break it down is just superior by far. So
his passing is superior by far. I mean, it is. I agree with you. Everything that Tua does is by far better than Jalen. The only thing Jalen might have him on is speed, but I think Tua is deceptively fast. And we saw that in some of his evasive maneuvers in that Vanderbilt game and even in the Georgia game. So
I think he's actually a better scrambler. He may be a step slower than Jalen, but I think he's a better scrambler in as far as eluding people and changing directions.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. The other thing too that kind of shocked me, and this isn't in the transcript that I have, because I think Saban said this in a different interview at Media Days. He actually said that Jalen had a good spring. Now, guys, let's fast forward back a couple of months when we were talking about the A-Day game. Didn't we catch Nick Saban on mic yelling at Jalen for having a horrible decision-making process in spring?
That certainly seemed to be the case.
That's stuck in my mind, yeah.
So is that coaches speak to try to make Jalen feel better, or did Jalen have a better spring than Coach let on to make us think?
Well, they could both be true, because I think almost anybody's criticism of Jalen Hurts has been the decision-making. So it's possible for Saban to be mad about the decision-making and for him to have a good spring. He could have improved his decision-making and still be bad at it.
Okay. That's
he could have had a good spring, all things considered, and still be bad at decision-making. So I'm going to say both are true.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. The last thing I want to cover about Media Days, the coaching part, actually, is one of the questions this was actually the second question that somebody asked Nick Saban. No, I'm sorry. This was the very first question that somebody asked Nick Saban on the open question portion. You ready? Steve Spurrier is the only coach who coached in the SEC at age 70. Do you think you can be the next one? Is that something you ever think about, or is that something you leave up to your wife, Miss Terry? This is Saban's response. I'm going to read it. It's rather lengthy. You ready? He said, "Well, let me say this. Miss Terry does not want me at home. I can tell you that. She doesn't care if I'm 60, 70, or 80. She's looking for something for me to do. Now, I really enjoy what I'm doing right now. As long as I'm healthy, I can do it. I'm going to continue to do it and not worry about any number or what my age is or anything like that. But I would not want to be in the position where I where I wrote the program down because I wasn't capable of making a contribution that would be positive to the success of this program. So I'm going to continue to do this for a long time as I feel like I can make a positive contribution, and as long as I feel healthy enough to do it. And our noontime basketball game was undefeated. Our noontime basketball team was undefeated again this year. So that's always an indicator to me that I can make it through another season. What does that tell you about our coach?
He tells me that he's incredibly consistent when people ask him the same question repeatedly.
Well, what I was going to say was a few years ago, that wasn't how he answered that question, because he used to say, I'm not going to be a coach forever. I'm not one of those guys that just has to do this stuff. I enjoy it and I like doing it, but at some point, I got a lake house in Georgia I want to go to. And when it's time to hang it up, I'm going to hang it up, and that's where you're going to find me, is that lake house in Georgia. And he painted a picture of retirement. But that was when he was a younger guy. Now there's much less incentive for Saban to even paint any sort of picture of retirement, because then the people that are recruiting against him say, see, there he is. He's already thinking about retirement. He's got 1 foot out the door already. So Saban has had to say the narrative that Miss Terry doesn't want him at home. And I think it's great, because that's good. He's reinforcing the point. He's like, I'm not leaving at 70. I'm going to be here as long as I can be. And Saban looks physically healthy. He looks mentally sharp. Right now he's at an age where I wouldn't worry about any of those things. I think he's fine. I think I will be shocked if he's not coaching at 70. And honestly, I'll probably be a little surprised if he's not coaching at 75.
So he is, 69, 66, 60, 68, somewhere around in there?
66.
He's only, really? I thought he was older than that.
No, we will fact check this. But
hold on, I'm doing that right now.
I'm pretty sure he is 66.
Ben is correct.
Wow.
Good job.
Okay.
Way to go, Ben.
He turns 67 this season on Halloween. Okay, so you say 70, so you say 75, so that's 9 more seasons?
Why not?
It'll
be better than Bobby Bowden at 75.
That's true.
So I don't think Alabama can win 10 games every season. I just don't. I mean, the dynasty has to go on the downslope at some point in time.
Well, you've actually missed what I think is the most important quote from Saban at Media Days, and that's that he said the current staff that he's brought in for this coming season is the best recruiting staff he's ever had.
I disagree with that. He has to say
no, these guys are very good recruiters, and he got them because of their recruiting prowess, which I think is great, because finally we're going to be able to get some talent in there. If we can put a talented team out there on the field, we might actually be able to win a couple games.
Yeah, if only.
I see the sarcasm in there, Ben. Okay, so that's
Can I ask a really quick question to you guys, though?
Sure.
You just said it about the answer that Saban gave with recruiting, that he has to say that. And we said it again with the one where, do we think he'll still be coaching when he's 70 or 80? And he gave an answer where he has to say that. Was there anything out of Media Days that surprised you, an answer that shocked you, anything that answered something for you that you didn't expect? Or is Media Days just kind of trotting out the coaches, trotting out the players? We're going to sport the sport better than the other sports, and we're the best team around, and we're going to talk championships. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's worth watching, but at the same time, I don't know that there's been anything that would make great TV other than just trying to understand the coaches' heads, which we already kind of know, right? Was there anything that just jumped out at you?
Shun the unbeliever. I kind of agree with you, Adam. It is a spectacle. It is a coach speak spectacle. But it is something that you do. Really, it's more about the media getting together and predicting their winners and losers, and getting to talk to the players. Because keep in mind, you don't get to talk to the players like you do at the SEC Media Days. I mean, each one of the 14 teams bring 2 players, and that's supposedly the captains of the team. Every other team except Alabama usually, they coach their team and their players on what to say. But, I mean, Alabama trots out coach speak when it comes to their players for there. But you really get some real answers out of most of those players.
Yeah.
So the coaches, I'd say, are the main attraction, but the players are where the quotes come from.
And I mean, I'm all for some of these new coaches and seeing what they have to offer, hearing what Dan Mullen's going to say about Florida. But I mean, at this point, like Derek Mason, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Gus Malzahn, I mean, we could probably, between the three of us, predict with 85% confidence what's going to come out of those speeches and questions. But
well, I think that's
back up, Dave, for you.
Well, I think media days is more about avoiding doing harm to your brand, because the media are not going to ask too many difficult questions. They're mostly going to ask vanilla questions, and the big story that comes the big story that comes out of media days is the guy that flubbed the vanilla question. And if you can't answer that basic stuff, that red alerts your fan base. And I really think, some of these hot seats start getting hot because of media days, where you go, wow, our leader just screwed up a really basic question that anybody ought to be able to answer. Certainly any coach ought to be able to answer. We've got a cause for concern. So what media days really does is it ushers in hot seat season. So media days is much less for somebody like Saban than it is for somebody like Gus Malzahn, or some of these new guys that are trying to prove themselves and say, have confidence before I've given you any reason to have confidence.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good answer. I do, we have picked on our show, we have picked the Western and Eastern Division winners to death. I think we've done it 3 times. But I do want to touch on what the media predicted the outcome of the West and the East. I think it's no surprise that it went Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Vanderbilt in the East. What surprises me is that South Carolina got 8 votes to win the East. Florida got 4, and some poor sap voted Kentucky, and some other poor sap voted Tennessee. Ben, was Vince Ferrara voting for Tennessee? Because isn't he the beat writer for Tennessee now?
It seems like it. I honestly think there are actually a few wise members of the media that have realized that, like, this is a joke, so they're going to make it as funny as they can, and that's why Tennessee and Kentucky they are either in Knoxville and Lexington and being incredibly loyal to their beat, or they are doing it for comedy purposes and doing it for the purposes of having extra fodder for their columns and radio shows. And I don't think there is anybody who seriously, legitimately thinks that Tennessee or Kentucky have any chance of winning the East. So whoever's doing it is doing it for fodder, or they are highly blinded by the beat they're covering.
Okay. And in the West, of course, Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss, and Arkansas. Alabama had 263 votes. Auburn had 19. Mississippi State had 2.
I still think it's interesting that Mississippi State is getting more love than Texas A&M.
I don't, because
A&M
lost a lot of their talent.
Yeah, but it's Texas. They build $100 million high school football stadiums in Texas. You can reload at Texas A&M way faster than you can in Starkville, despite having all those junior colleges to go around and visit. And
they build cheese in Starkville.
But you know what? Swiss cheese has holes in it, just like the Mississippi state line. So
Wow.
Texas A&M is much easier to rebuild. I'm surprised just on size alone, A&M doesn't get a little bit more love than Mississippi State here. If I was a coach, I would much rather prefer to go there. Also, you have Jimbo Fisher, that's a proven quantity, versus Moorhead, who's a sort of proven quantity. I think Texas A&M should have gotten a vote ahead of Mississippi State.
Okay. And answer me this. So 193 votes for Alabama to win the championship, 69 for Georgia, Auburn 14, South Carolina 4, Florida 2, Mississippi State 1. They all got votes to win their conference. Missouri didn't get any vote to win their conference, but some poor sap voted them to win the SEC. How does this happen, gentlemen?
You mean to win their division?
No. Some poor sap voted them to win the conference, but didn't get any votes to win their division.
Okay, that's what I meant. I think you were saying conference both times. I was like,
okay, sorry.
So
it's early in the morning, remember?
Yeah, it is. They were. Well, I think you can do that because Alabama didn't win.
But we didn't win the conference.
Alabama didn't win the conference. So,
no, they voted somebody to win the conference,
but not even win their division. Yeah.
So add that up in your head.
It was early in the morning when they did that too.
It was early. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely early in the morning.
All right, so there is our stamp on SEC Media Days. We're going to take a break, let y'all hear from our sponsor, Roo Sport. And in the break, instead of having a Coke and a smile, gentlemen, I think we're going to argue on whether a hot dog is a sandwich. But guys, we'll see you on the other side here on Sideline Warning. Argue about whether a hot dog is a sandwich. See you on the other side.
There's no argument.
Hey everybody, while we've got a quick second, I want to tell you again about our sponsor, Roo Sport, at theroosport.com, and the running pouches they make that clip to your waistband with magnets. I know we've talked in the past about our experience with the Dark Side Half Marathon. I'm actually training for my second half marathon with my new Roo Sport that I recently got, and I got to say, still love it. I'm able to really leave the house with just a pair of shoes, a Roo Sport, whatever I need to fit inside at my house, key my phone, and just go. I don't have to worry about taking a belt. I don't have to worry about anything being uncomfortable when I run. It holds what I need. It gets the job done, and it does it in a really comfortable way, which is not something you can say about a lot of running gear out there. And Dave, I know you recently got one. I don't know if you have any experiences you want to share.
Actually, I have been training with it since I got it a couple of weeks ago. Just last weekend, I went on a good long run. I went in it, threw some gels in it, threw my phone in it. Didn't even feel the pouch. The only reason I knew it was there is because I felt my phone on my hip. Didn't move. The magnets made it stay right there on my belt loop. And honestly, it's the best thing I've ever had because, like I said a couple weeks ago, when I first started running at them, you told me to go get one of those belts that have the water bottles and the little fanny pack looking thing up front. And it just rode up and down when I started running. I didn't like it. It didn't feel comfortable. But this Roo Sport pouch, it really is. It's the best thing you could take when you're running.
Yeah, and we're about to actually go out to some theme parks coming up in the next week or two, and so I'm going to take it out for a spin in a theme park, something completely different than running. So we'll let you guys know how that goes after we have that experience. So visit theroosport.com and take a look at their products. They've got multiple colors, multiple sizes to fit all kinds of phones, and find the one that's right for you, and that's theroosport.com. Go visit their website, take a look at their product.
Everybody, welcome back into Sideline Warning. Hope you're as well rested as we are, and hope that you have realized that a hot dog is not a sandwich.
Hot dog is a sandwich.
Adam, get off the show.
A hot dog
Leave.
is not a sandwich. Come on. What are you going to tell me next? Chris Stapleton's not a good country singer?
That's for a whole other episode, man. You can't get me started on that one right now. So if I go to Merriam-Webster and I look up the definition of sandwich, and I'm not even looking at definition 1B, I'm looking at 1A, 2 or more slices of bread or a split roll having a filling in between. A hot dog bun is a split roll. Therefore, a hot dog is a sandwich.
Then why do we not ask for a sandwich when we ask for a hot dog?
Why do you not ask for a sandwich when you ask for a hamburger?
Because a hamburger is not a sandwich.
I agree.
But it is 2 or more slices of bread with a filling in between.
When you ask for a patty melt, then you're asking for a hamburger with 2 pieces of bread. When you're asking for a hamburger, you want a hamburger bun.
Dave, when is the last time you've actually walked into a place and said, I would like a sandwich? When's the last time you actually said that?
I go into Firehouse Subs all the time.
And you say, I would like a sandwich.
I would like the
Actually, he uses that exact
sandwich.
same voice. Yeah.
Yes, I do. I would like a sandwich, please.
So when you go to Subway and they only cut 1 slot in the bread, and then fill that slot, that split roll, with meat and cheese.
That's not a hot dog, is it? Do you put
so
cheese on your
filling.
hot dog?
So it's the filling that differentiates it in your mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right.
Definitely.
Excuse me, sir. I would like one sausage sandwich. with your best spicy mustard.
So Adam, when you go to Casey's Corner there in Magic Kingdom, do you order a sandwich?
I order just like you do at Firehouse. You say you want a number 6. I say there I'd like a number 1. Neither of us say sandwich. So that's a moot point.
Okay. Did you order the 2-foot hot dog the other day, by the way?
No, I did not. Holy cow. No. Although it was impressive.
It was impressive. Okay. Next topic on Sideline Warning. What does Adam think about Incredibles 2?
We're out of time, folks. We're out of time.
All right, folks. And that's the show for today.
All right. So Chris Stapleton's not a country singer. Adam thinks a hot dog is a sandwich, and he doesn't. Okay. So, baseball, guys. Let's talk a little baseball.
Please, by all means.
Wait, are we doing a sports podcast?
Well, I mean, we didn't get good downloads on a Disney podcast. Do you want to do a general knowledge podcast?
That might be too general.
I don't know enough about generals to do that.
Let's go to the Derby.
Let's go to the Home Run Derby. All right. So we wanted to record on Wednesday after the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby, but as we said earlier, someone had a concert to go to every night, so we had to do this early in the morning on Saturday morning. But what were your guys' impressions of the Home Run Derby?
I'm going to let Ben go first.
This actually was one of the most fun home run derbies I've watched in recent years. I really liked it. You guys know I despise Bryce Harper, but it was fun because there were so many guys that seemed to get behind on the clock where you're like, they're not keeping pace. There's no way they're going to do it. And then they did. Schwarber did it. Harper did it. You're like, oh, these guys are done. They're out. They can't. Oh my gosh, they're going to do it. And that those ups and downs made this really good TV and gave a lot of drama to the Home Run Derby. I had fun. I thought it was great watching.
I do agree from a drama standpoint that the whole story and the way it played out is good. I have to say, though, I'm not a fan of the Home Run Derby. If I wanted to watch extended batting practice, I'd show up to a game early. The Home Run Derby is the Chris Stapleton of baseball. There, I said it.
Adam, I would like to ask, how is the weather in Moscow? Because if you don't like if you don't like the Home Run Derby, I've got to question your citizenship in the United States.
What's next, Adam? You're going to tell me you don't like Alabama football?
No, that doesn't have anything to do with it. If you guys like watching a man in an American flag bandana take batting practice from his dad, who's not even throwing the balls correctly, then by all means. But it is amazing feat that they're able to pull this off. I would like to see more of like a combine approach where there's points and like you're the best all-around hitter because of things that you did. But I mean, Home Run Derby is exciting. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's just not my favorite.
I really was rooting for Bryce Harper to fail, if for no other reason. I wanted to see him get mad at his dad on national television.
Would you get mad at that man? He could pound you into the ground.
He kind of looked like a professional wrestler, and I was at a certain point I had to be like, is this real? Is this
I will say though, props to Freddie Freeman for putting up 12. I didn't expect 12 out of him.
Are you kidding me? Freddie Freeman was the second worst hitter in the Home Run Derby.
Yeah, he exceeded my expectations though.
But I'll say props to Freddie Freeman for being like, I'm not changing my swing to win this game. I'm going to make an appearance. I'm going to represent Atlanta, and I'm going to do better than Chipper, and we're going to put that in the win column.
Yeah. How about Jesus Aguilar, man? He had been hitting these monster bombs all first half, and he gets out there and hits what, 3, 4? I mean, nothing big. Jesus Aguilar was supposed to be. He was the number 1 seed in this thing.
Yeah, but look, that seeding stuff is rigged because Home Run Derby isn't like hitting home runs in game, and Jesus Aguilar, it weighs like 350 pounds. He is hitting home runs in games because he doesn't want to run to first. In the home run derby, he's taking multiple swings back to back to back. He was winded before the time he spent 30 seconds on the clock. So I am not surprised by any of this. Like, Jesus Aguilar was not going to win. The number 1 seed for him was a farce. He was not going to win the home run derby. He is not built like the guys that win the home run derby.
Well, and let's also talk about this too. When the announcement came out who was going to be in the derby, it really was kind of the C team minus Bryce Harper. There was no Giancarlo Stanton. There was no Aaron Judge. There was no Manny Machado. Really, there was none of these huge names out there. I mean, we got Max Muncy, who before last year wasn't on a team. He was in the single A or triple A team. So we really didn't get the best of the best when it came to your flashy names.
Well, Max Muncy's having a heck of a year, so I actually thought that was good. I want to see at least a couple of underdogs get in there. So I thought seeing Max Muncy and getting to highlight his story a little bit more, I thought was a really good thing. Yeah, you definitely want to see Aaron Judge in there because he won it last year, right?
Right.
Stanton didn't make the All-Star team, so I might forgive him not being in the Derby. But to only have one American League guy, Bregman, that's all you got?
Right.
You got to get somebody else from the American League in there. And honestly, I would love to see the bracket be half and half, so the final winds up being an American League guy versus a National League guy.
I thought it was supposed to be half and half.
Well, different years they've done it different ways, and that's the good and bad thing about the home run derby. One, it doesn't matter that much, so they can change the rules every year. But the bad side is they change the rules every year, so you can never really compare a home run derby to another home run derby. This clock thing's only been around the last 3 years.
I love the clock thing. I think that has actually helped the home run derby and made it more watchable.
It has really enhanced things, and also I know this sounds a little crazy, a little conspiracy theory-esque, but having a time clock in the home run derby is a gateway drug to having time clocks in other elements of baseball.
Oh gosh, really?
It's true.
Are we going to do this?
You would have said 5 years ago, Dave, you would have said there is never a reason for a clock to be involved with baseball. If we were doing this podcast 5 years ago and we brought up clocks in baseball, you would have said there is never a circumstance where a clock should be on the field. You would have made that hot take and you would have owned it. But now you watch the home run derby and you're like, you know what? Clocks have a place, and sometimes you need clocks.
Clocks have a place in home run derby exhibitions, but the pitch clock, the coaches walk to the mound clock, no, that has no place in baseball, and I'm still going to stand by that hot take.
They've got them here when you go to a Firefrogs game here for the advanced day stuff they do in Kissimmee, and I like it. It keeps the game moving. Probably more that feel is more that it's on TV than the clock itself, but I'm not against the pitch clock.
There's a generation of minor leaguers coming up that are used to having the clock. It's only a matter of time before the major leaguers have to work with it too.
Look, I am totally for a 4-hour baseball game. I might be in the minority here, but I like the 1-0 4-hour pitchers duel baseball games.
Hey, I love it too, but for the long-term sake of the game, being able to sell the game to TV and to a viewing fan base, they're going to incorporate clocks one way or the other.
If you want the Fortnite generation to turn into baseball viewing people later, you're going to have to shorten it a little bit.
And honestly, I would much rather them have them do that and put a clock on the pitchers so they speed things up a little bit. I would much rather have them do that than do something insane like cut a game to 7 innings or something crazy like that. So if embracing the clock helps keep other radical changes to the game from happening, I'm in favor of clocks.
Look, as a guy who has pitched a little bit in his life, I would not be for a pitch clock because think about it. The mound is where you have to think. And if you're telling me I have to rush my thinking, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. That's not the way you methodically pitch.
If you make a good point.
If you had told Greg Maddux in the 90s that he had to hurry up his delivery, what would Greg Maddux have said?
Well,
Can't say it on the show.
Maddox was pretty efficient though. He didn't take like a million years to pitch. But also, Dave, you're completely right. I would not want to put a timer on you thinking.
Oh Lord. I opened myself up to that.
Yeah.
Well, folks, it looks like we've got a 4-hour game here.
Okay, fine. Okay. We have digressed. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Home Run Derby, but we've gotten into a big talk about Major League Baseball, which I love. But I do want to bring up one issue I saw with the Home Run Derby, and that is, was it rigged? I only bring this up because, Ben, you made a point when you were talking about Bryce Harper. You didn't think he can make that number that Kyle Schwarber hit at the final pairing. And a lot of people, myself included, were noticing that when Mr. Harper was pitching the ball, the previously hit ball had not landed. Now, if you watch every other batter, there's the umpire behind the plate telling the pitcher, don't pitch. The ball hasn't landed yet. But Bryce's father was pitching it before the ball landed. What say you?
I say it's fine. I think it's ridiculous that you've got to wait until it lands. I think you need to wait until it seems to be conclusively a home run or not. You don't have to wait for it to like touch the ground or somebody to catch it. And I think it's silly. I think, obviously Harper worked he found a little leeway in the rules and he worked it to his advantage. And, shame on all of his other opponents for not figuring out a way to do that too. Because if I'm preparing for the Home Run Derby and I'm looking at the rules, the first thing I'm talking to my pitcher about is, hey, I know they're giving you a hand signal for when you can pitch. I would err on the side of pitching early rather than pitching late. And, when the crowd makes a certain amount of noise and I give you the nod, let's go ahead with it and let's let them tell me, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. So I think Harper played it well. I think he did it right. And also I think the Home Run Derby is an exhibition. I think it was good that Harper won in DC.
I agree. It's an exhibition and that kind of thing's just for fun. But Dave, I'm going to side with where, I don't know if your brain's going here or not, but if we're going to live and die by the clock, and the amount of pitches you get in a set amount of time is what drives your success, or at least your opportunity for success, everybody ought to be pitched at exactly the same way.
Exactly. And that's where I'm going with it. Bryce was playing with a different set of rules because he was in Washington. Ben, you have stated that you don't like Bryce Harper, but you just sided with Bryce Harper. So are you now a Bryce Harper apologist?
No, I am a Home Run Derby apologist. And the point of the Home Run Derby is to be fun. And was this Home Run Derby fun? Absolutely. And if you want to get bogged down in the rules, you're missing the point of the Home Run Derby. The Home Run Derby is to get people excited about the long ball because everybody digs the long ball.
Chicks dig the long ball.
And everybody digs the long ball. And so if you want to get hung up on, oh, he actually should have waited 0.7 of a second longer before releasing the next pitch, you've missed the point of the Home Run Derby. The Home Run Derby is about having fun and knocking it over the fence. Did everybody have fun? Yes. Did a whole bunch of home runs get knocked over the fence? Absolutely. Was the crowd into it? Yes. Was it great TV? Was it compelling TV? This is one of the most compelling home run derbies in recent memory, since Griffey. I'll even go that far.
No. I was about that. That was my next question, Ben. So in your rank of home run derbies, where does this lie? I'm going to say this is probably third in modern past 1999.
Behind which two?
The one where Yoenis Cespedes just knocked the cover off of every ball when he was with the A's, and then the one when Josh Hamilton when he was with the Yankee Stadium.
Okay, I'm going to favor some of those Griffey showcases. Those were the ones that stand out to me as the most fun. Yeah, the Hamilton ones are good. I don't think any of those were compelling because they were awe-inspiring. You're like, how does this guy keep hitting? How is he not exhausted? look at how the size of those home runs, how far they're going. That's compelling. But none of that was like the drama of having to beat the clock and having to say, wow, these guys are really off pace. And now all of a sudden they're surging in the final minute. They're getting these 30-second bonuses and the bat flips and the celebration of winning. Whereas before it's like, I just hit a whole bunch of home runs. I hope that's enough. Now there was a lot more conclusion. Yes, this home run, this one right here wins it, and I can flip the bat.
I can give you that, but also keep in mind there will be nothing to ever touch McGuire, Sosa, King Griffey Jr. at Fenway Park.
Yep.
Well, that's what I said. I said I'd go with like one of the Griffey years.
Okay. Do we want to talk about the All-Star game? Because we just had a lot of fun talking baseball.
See, I'd like to at least mention it because the 10 home runs that were hit in the All-Star game are valid home runs because they were against difficult pitching, which that means something to me. So, yes, I enjoyed the All-Star game.
Okay. Even though the All-Star game didn't mean anything, Adam, you enjoyed the All-Star game because you said it meant something. So tell me why it
means something to me. And well, it doesn't mean something in the sense of like home field advantage or anything like that, right? But it means something to me in the sense of you're playing against the best in the game. And when Aaron Judge can step up in the box and just be able to let it all out and hit the home runs that he hit, the home run that he did, when Mike Trout can show up and show off like he does in All-Star games, and they can just enjoy baseball for what it is. And that to me is fun. And I know that same exhibition style of the Home Run Derby gives it the same kind of feel, but I like to see the best of the best compete against each other and have them, put themselves out there, with nothing on the line. So okay. I enjoyed it.
I will say this. I did enjoy the fact that they mic'd up certain players.
Yeah.
And you got to see how they acted with each other, how they acted with their friends, how they acted against the opposite team. I think that proves that some of these players are truly playing this game because they realize they are lucky to play a kid's game and get paid for it. I mean, look at how Mike Trout was humble when he was on the mic. I can't remember who's the shortstop that was on the mic for the American League. Oh, crap. Was that the Indian shortstop, Lindor, Francisco Lindor?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah. I feel like the effort put out to win the All-Star game is so much better than what you see in the NBA All-Star game or the Pro Bowl. It's been ages since I've watched an NHL All-Star game, so I won't qualify it. But I think when you watch what's going on with the NBA and the NFL, it really is like a one-sided thing where the effort just isn't there for some guys. With the All-Star game, I feel like everybody that's there really wants to play. The pitchers are trying to strike out the best batters because they want to enhance their dominance, enhance maybe the psychological fear that's out there. If Max Scherzer strikes out Mike Trout, everybody notices. And that's a value to Max Scherzer to create an additional mystique to how good of a pitcher he is. And these defensive players, the shortstops, are wanting to turn amazing double plays and put out great effort. And these guys are willing to make diving catches because they want to show off what good fielders they are. And I think the effort is there, and that is why the Major League Baseball All-Star Game is by far the best All-Star showcase of any of the sports.
It really is, and I appreciate how they do it in the middle of the season, unlike NFL. I know NFL, you probably have to do it at the end of the season, but I do appreciate how it's done and how it is presented, and it gives you almost a full off week, which as fans we don't like, but as players you have to really enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the atmosphere, the mic'd up, the whole experience. Manny Machado taking a selfie. I mean, that kind of stuff is just fun. So,
and what would have happened if that trade? So we all know now that Manny Machado is a Dodger, and it happened the day after the All-Star game. What would have happened if Manny Machado trade had gone down the day before or the day of that game? Would Manny Machado had to put on a National League jersey?
Well, no, because he wasn't voted in, and quite honestly, that's where the commissioner should be involved and say, look, guys, go ahead and agree to these trades in principle, but they'd better not be leaked. they'd better not break during the All-Star game. And that the Machado trade was basically already done at that point, and they even interviewed Machado in the dugout, and they said, well, how does it feel this is the last time you're in an Orioles uniform? That's not good for the All-Star game. And that's not good for the Orioles. That undermines that franchise. It's great for the Dodgers because it's a huge stage for them. But that trade was going to get a lot of attention anyway. It didn't need to be that didn't need to break during the All-Star game.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of something breaking during the All-Star game, Adam, you wanted to bring this up, and we don't normally dig into this during a sports cast or sports podcast, but Adam, talk to us a little about Joe Hader or Josh Hader, whatever his name is, and what you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, somebody, obviously during the game, it came out that there were some tweets when he was younger that were insensitive in a number of ways, and it kind of
that's putting it mildly.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying not to dive down too far down the rabbit hole, but I mean, it's the kind of thing. I just had an image in my mind of some reporter, quote unquote journalist who hadn't really watched baseball, sees this guy, looks him up, starts scrolling through his feed, sees this stuff and makes a story about it. And I mean, there are a number of areas right now in life where recent tweets are causing people to be fired and get in trouble and that kind of stuff. And it highlights the danger of social media overall. But at the same time, it's like, if they're given a chance to speak to it and they say they don't feel that way and they apologize for it and all of that, should they be held accountable? I don't know. But just in the middle of this kind of fun atmosphere, something like that came out. And I think that's the question that I had for you guys is, how do you feel about it? Is it deserved to be made a big deal out of it because of how the timing of it, when it was that he actually did it? Should that stuff have an infinite statute of limitations where if you've ever done that in your life, you should be in trouble?
So here's my take on it, and this is going to be a little, I don't know, probably not out there, but probably something that's already should have been thought of already. Is he wrong for saying those things? Yes, but he is. I don't know how old he is. I'm going to say mid-20s, and these happened when he was a freshman in high school. So the blame falls on him, yes, but it also falls on his agent. His agent should have gone back and found these tweets and said, hey, delete them and get on top of it and don't let this hit the light of day. But second, I do believe that there should be a statute of limitation because, Adam, you and I are the elder statesman on this show. And, there's no shame in our game saying that we're old. By the way, I was about to say you sounded like Get Off My Lawn guy there for a second, talking about social media and the pitfalls of social media. But going along with what your sideline warning is, it's definitely probably going to sound like Get Off My Lawn guy. But I think that it is safe to say that as 37-year-old men, you and I don't think the same way that we did as 16-year-old teenagers.
That's absolutely correct.
While we were wrong in some of our thinkings at 16, 17, 15, 14, what have you, you shouldn't have to punish the kid or the adult for how they thought when they were a kid. It says in the Bible, when I was a child, I thought childish ways, but now that I'm an adult, I have put my childish ways behind me and I move forward. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But should we punish Hader for how he thought when he was a 16-year-old? I don't think so now that he's mid-20s.
Well, with a lot of this, to me, the thing that really stands out, I'm not going to beat the dead horse. The language is unacceptable.
They were bad.
Yeah, they were bad.
Regardless of the age, regardless of whether or not you're quoting a song or not, like, that's terrible. So I'm not going to talk about that point because that's, to me, that's already understood. That's not acceptable in our society. The issue to me is the timing of it and how similar it is to, who is it, Josh Allen in the NFL draft, having a similar circumstance like that. With these guys, it is their big moment in the sun. They are never going to have more attention, potentially, on them than what they're having going in the NFL draft, playing in the AllStar game. And it seems to me that the people that are drawing attention to these things are intentionally timing it, not because they have an issue with the terrible things that were said, but because they are specifically trying to damage the person and exact maximum damage on the person. And I think, when these things start popping up, you've got to say, where's the source of this? Somebody didn't just say, oh, it's the AllStar game, let me go look at all of his tweets. Somebody went and said, I'm going to find some dirt on Hader, and I'm going to wait till he's on a big stage, and then I'm going to take him down. And that's what's concerning to me, is that he did some really stupid stuff when he was in high school, and now somebody has weaponized it, essentially, to attack him. And two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, and I know,
I feel especially bad for his family, who were at the game and had Hader jerseys on. And those jerseys, by different accounts, I heard they were turned inside out. They were given blank jerseys that didn't have his name on that. And to me, that's really sad and really disappointing for his family. He's got to take responsibility for things he said, but it's really a shame that whoever decided to exact their revenge at this point did it in a way that it also negatively affected his family in a situation like this. So I hate that he did something dumb a long time ago, and I especially hate that it hurts and harms his family and made his family. They changed the jerseys because they were afraid of physical retribution at the All-Star game, and that there are these dangerous unintended consequences. His parents didn't tweet that stuff. His siblings didn't tweet that stuff. And those people are actually afraid of being physically harmed because somebody decided to take something bad that he did, a horrible mistake, and weaponize it on a large stage. And that's terrible, and it's really concerning.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that when you step into something like this with Major League Baseball, you're on the stage at the All-Star game, there's a huge spotlight on your life. You're making a lot of money. There's a different level of accountability that's given to people in the public eye on things like this. But I'm with you, Dave. There's so many support people involved in someone's career like this, like an agent, handlers, and people that he looks up to and have mentored him. Someone really should have caught this and helped him avoid it. Because of the spotlight that you step into, but at the same time, he shouldn't have done it. I agree there should be some accountability, but it sounds like he's apologized to his teammates. And I think he even had like a 2-hour-long meeting with Billy Beane for MLB, and Billy Beane said he's beaten himself up more about it than anybody else possibly could. So I think he's truly apologetic, and it ought to just die now that he has apologized. But that's the unfortunate side of it, is that the cycle of the media that we're in today it'll just perpetuate. And I just hope it doesn't end up with him having to sacrifice his career for something he did when he was a kid.
Yeah. So what sucks now?
I want to give huge kudos to Lorenzo Cain, his teammate, who was also interviewed. And Lorenzo Cain, it seemed obvious to me in the interview I saw that he was hurt learning about some of that stuff, some of the things that were said. Because some of those things seemed applicable to Lorenzo Cain in his life. And so he seemed very hurt, but he also said, you know what, he's my teammate and people do dumb stuff. And so, some of the stuff isn't good, but he's my teammate and I'm going to go get all the facts and I'm going to also hear him out. So kudos to Lorenzo Cain not being one of the folks that just wanted, react to everything before they have all the information. So I applaud him for being more gracious than he had to be, and so hat tip to Lorenzo Cain.
Yeah, I was going to kind of say that same point, because not only does Hader have to face his family, but now he has 82 games left to be with his teammates, and so whoever this media guy is that leaked this tweet, he probably messed up the clubhouse dynamic in the Brewers locker room. So could it have been somebody from the Cubs? I'm all for conspiracy theories, but could that have been one of the reasons this happened? And silence. I guess y'all don't agree.
So somebody had an issue with Hader, and I just find it hard to believe that this journalist was just being curious, because Did this journalist take the time to go back 7 years on the Twitter of everybody on both All-Star teams?
That's true. Very true.
I find that hard. I find that hard to believe, and all due respect to folks in the journalism profession, a lot of times when a journalist makes a discovery like this, it's because somebody pointed them down a particular trail, and who that someone is had a special interest in ruining Hader and making trouble for him. And that's why that's really concerning. The language is concerning, but it's also concerning that somebody was seeking their revenge and used I'm speculating here, but I speculate somebody that wanted to get revenge on Hader used a journalist to make this stir.
Yeah, and I have to say I made it sound light earlier. I hadn't seen them, and I wish I hadn't Googled it while we were talking because I saw some of them. I'd heard
bad.
some of it, but not all of it. They're really bad. But here's the thing. Here's Get Off My Lawn guy coming back out for a second, Ben. If it's unacceptable for this type of language to be used in our society, if he is quoting songs in some of these, it ought to be unacceptable for those people too. They're making money off of something, and this guy's going to pay the price for quoting what they're making money off of. And all the social stuff that goes along with a comment like that, I know. But we all ought to elevate ourselves beyond this, past baseball, past music, and completely eliminate this type of thing. So my apologies if I made it sound light earlier. I had not seen everything. But do not, I implore the listeners of our show, don't Google it if you don't know what we're talking about.
Googling it right now.
No, Dave.
It's bad.
You can't unsee it. You can't unsee it, man.
And I do.
And some of that stuff is clearly not song lyrics. So
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to say, us here at Sideline Warning do not condone the things that were said in that Twitter in any way, shape, or form. The way I talked just a minute ago sounded like I could have been, the way he thought as a child. Oh, it's okay. No, it's not okay. We don't condone that here at Sideline Warning, but we do condone second chances. Or we do appreciate second chances.
Yeah.
So, and I do believe that Hader deserves a second chance. And I also believe that Hulk Hogan deserves a second chance in the WWE, gentlemen. Sorry, had to bring it back. Wrestling. Okay. So, guys, there's our baseball talk. There's our political talk. there is our SEC Media Days talk. Guys, we're 43 days away from Alabama kicking off. You ready?
Roll Tide.
All right. So, it's time for Sideline Warnings. Who wants to go first?
I'm ready to go. I'm actually bringing two warnings. I think I told you guys I had one. I got two. So
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. They're both baseball related. The first one is a quick ode to Joe Simpson. I believe Dave has given him love on the show before. But last night I was watching the Braves and the Nationals before going to a concert, and Joe Simpson was just trolling the heck out of Steven Strasburg, and it was magnificent. He was dogging him about injuries, about being soft, about quitting, and then sure enough, about the time he's raising all this ruckus about Strasburg breaks down, gives up a bunch of doubles, gets pulled from the game, and gets chewed out by Max Scherzer in the dugout. Rejects Max Scherzer, walks to the clubhouse, and Scherzer follows him down the tunnel, chewing him out, telling him to man up. And it was amazing timing. It too was great drama in baseball, better than the Home Run Derby. And it just shows how astute Joe Simpson is to the real issues of players in baseball and what's going on. He advocates for improved padding at the bases of walls. He hates on anybody who has been linked to steroids, unlike ESPN and MLB's promotion of Alex Rodriguez on Sunday Night Baseball. And he advocates for pitchers being able to hit and saying he's dogged Strasburg for being weak-minded and weak-bodied. He's also hated on Tanaka with the Yankees for pulling a hamstring while running the bases and calling him out for being an athlete. So Joe Simpson is my nominee for future commissioner. I want Joe Simpson to run baseball because he thinks about baseball the way I think about baseball. So kudos to Joe Simpson. Speaking of commissioners, Rob Manfred this week
I was wondering when this was coming up.
said that Mike Trout could be a bigger star if he was willing to work with Major League Baseball on marketing better. And while I think it is incredibly stupid how Manfred introduced this issue into the public and how Trout responded, saying, well, I'm doing the best I can, I think Rob Manfred in spirit, if at least not in presentation, is 100% right. Mike Trout can be a huge star from the Los Angeles market, and he's not doing enough, and he has a responsibility as a torchbearer of baseball to elevate the game and improve his marketing. And he says, I don't have enough time. You're making $250 million over your career. You've got the money if you don't have the time. Spend some money to improve your marketing. Let some smart people run your social media for you. You go do a photo shoot. You can do photo shoots and interviews from the baseball stadium. It will not be that taxing on you, Mike Trout, and it will not be a detriment to your career. It will enhance your career and make you more money, and it will make Major League Baseball better. And while it's easy to single out Mike Trout, there are a ton of other guys that also could be stepping up and improving the marketability of baseball. So stars, celebrities, get with it and help make baseball better and get baseball back to the masses. NBA is doing a great job of it. NFL is doing an okay job of it. Let's go, baseball. Step up, big stars. Promote the game better than you're doing it. All right.
Ben is saying make baseball great again. Adam was about to say it too.
You beat me to it.
Make baseball huge. Make it better than it's ever been before. Better than we can be ever again.
It'll be the big leagues.
We're going to have huge home runs. My home runs are the biggest actually. The best home runs. The best. Absolutely
you won't
the
believe
best.
It.
They're going to be terrific.
All right, Adam.
So I have to give a shout out to my hometown minor league baseball team from where I'm from originally, the Montgomery Biscuits. They have absolutely won the internet this week with their promotion for Millennial Night. The tweet that they actually sent out for the game this weekend was, do you want free things without doing much work? Well, you're in luck. Riverwalk Stadium will be millennial friendly on Saturday, July 21st, with a participation ribbon giveaway just for showing up, napping, and selfie stations, along with lots of avocados. And as you can imagine from the millennial community, as they've been trained to do by our society, there's mass outrage that they would even use such a stereotype, which only really furthers the stereotype. And so in response to the outrage, the Biscuits tweeted again, saying, anyone who's offended, please come fight your battles in real IRL, in real life, and submit a valid complaint in person to the Millennial Night think tank. So they just doubled down on it when everyone got mad. And so the vice president of fan engagement is actually a millennial himself and said that 80% of our front offices, and this was our idea, to do basically a campaign that would get more attention outside of just the Montgomery market. And boy, they did it. It went national. And, congrats to those guys for having an idea that has brought visibility to a team that there's only probably a small percentage of us even knew there was a team called the Biscuits that's in Montgomery. Now a lot more people know about it. And honestly, any of the outrage is misplaced on this one. I think it's just a hilarious idea. And I hope there are pictures of the avocados and the napping stations, and I hope people take advantage of it.
I didn't even realize there were millennials in Montgomery.
There are a few.
I'm kidding. I've got a lot of friends. I've got a lot of friends in Montgomery that are definitely of my generation. But
yep.
Actually, Ben, what year were you born?
I was born in '86.
Okay, so you are the first year that can definitely call yourself a millennial.
So are you offended by that, Ben?
No, it's funny. And actually, I think the Biscuits should double down. For a lot of these promotional nights, you can do special jerseys and things like that. I actually think next year they should bring it back, and they should double down and for one night change the team name. And instead of being the Montgomery Biscuits, they should be the Millennial Falcons.
Oh my gosh!
I love it. That's what I love about minor league baseball, though. They can do that kind of stuff, like when the Buffalo Bisons were the Buffalo Wings for a game.
Yeah.
That type of stuff is so fun, man.
Tell
So,
me, like there wouldn't be a whole bunch of people that would buy Millennial Falcon jerseys.
oh yeah, if you
I
did your,
would.
because most of the teams do a Star Wars night anyway.
It'd
Combine
be,
the two together.
It'd be Falcon amazing.
Adam, I was trying to find I was afraid to play it off YouTube, but I was trying to find a clip of some old guy saying, "Get off my lawn!
Get off my lawn, you
If-
millennials!"
If a bunch of millennials don't buy the jerseys, at least like their dads would, and give it to them as like a gift. Here, son, I think you need this.
Oh gosh! Before everyone else in this world has turned off our show, let me get into my sideline warning, and it's kind of a millennial thing, but I'm a zennial. I guess I play video games. I'm a video game player.
You're a what, Dave? You're a zennial?
Adam
Isn't that a flower?
No, Adam.
Can't you pick that up? Can't you pick that up at the garden section at Home Depot?
Yeah.
The generation that Adam and I are in is a zennial, which means that we have a foot in both the millennial and Generation X
Wow.
tendencies.
We grow
So-
best in shade.
Yes, the more you know. Okay, anyway. So what I'm getting into, every year up until 2013, I would be excited to watch the Home Run Derby. And then as soon as the Home Run Derby was over, I would go to my local GameStop, my local Best Buy, and I would stand in line for the midnight release of NCAA 2000 whatever. Monday night was supposed to have been, or what would have been, the release of NCAA 2019. But because Ed O'Bannon decided to mess with EA Sports and sue because he thought that his player in the NCAA basketball game looked a little bit too much like him.
It was him.
No, it was a little bit like him. And Tyrone Prother might have been from his same hometown. I don't know.
Narrator,
but-
it was Tyron Prother.
EA Sports was forced to shut down the EA college football game as well as the EA college basketball game. EA Sports, 247 Sports, somebody, it's time to make a deal with the NCAA and bring a college football game back to video games.
You're here.
Madden football is okay, but it's nowhere near what NCAA football is. I remember there were I would take off that Tuesday from work every year, and me and 3 or 4 of my buddies would sit and play all day. We would upload a roster, we would make it, and we would play out a dynasty. And it was kind of a little bit of football before the real football. SEC Media Days is a little bit of football, and it's fine, but it's not NCAA football. Adam, how many nights did you and I sit up and play football in college?
Far too many.
Yeah.
We had a blast with that, man.
Ben, you and I probably did the same. I don't remember it near as much because I wasn't in a dorm then.
I've got to be honest. NCAA football is the only video game I have ever played longer than 30 minutes.
All the more reason.
And my favorite dynasties were with Wake Forest and New Mexico State.
Yep.
I
can remember.
I would just go pick the worst, most dreadful team and figure out a way to get them to a national championship, and that was always a ton of fun.
I can remember starting off coaching at Utah State and making them a national powerhouse and bringing them into the Pac-12, or it was the Pac-10 at the time. But it's time to bring that back. It's time to bring the millennial generation and get their excitement into a college football game. EA Sports, 247, do something about it.
I have a great idea for that game when it does come back. I think, you used to be able to do the coach mode, right?
Right.
I think you can still do that in Madden, but they should have coach mode in NCAA football where you actually have to start with media days and answer questions. Like it pops up on the screen where a reporter asks you a question. You ought to have to answer that. And there's a chance that your quarterback might leave the team before the season even starts if you answer the question the wrong way. And then you'd really feel what it was like to be a coach in the SEC.
I kind of like that idea.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Dave, I completely agree with what you said, except for one point,
and that is that you said you would go to the Home Run Derby, you'd watch the Home Run Derby on TV, and then you would immediately go get in line for the video game. And I gotta say, whoa! What about the celebrity softball game? You've got to watch the celebrity softball game right after the Home Run Derby. You can't skip out on that fun.
Nay, you go because
especially in the years you are claiming to have skipped out to buy this video game. Those were the years Kenny Mayne was in there coaching the celebrity softball teams. Yeah. That is comedy gold. That is amazing television. But Kenny Mayne and Harold Reynolds coaching the two celebrity softball teams, that is primo stuff. And to skip that for a video game, I don't know.
The GameStops in Tuscaloosa would have a line. The GameStop, I don't know if it's still there, but it was in Midtown Village. And the line would wrap all the way around to where Bob Baumhauer's Victory Grill was. So you had to get there in time so you can get a good spot before you had to stand there forever to get a game.
I got to stay with celebrity softball.
Okay, well, that's you. But guys, that is our show. Adam, tell them how they can get in contact with the show.
Yeah, sure. So we're sorry.
Wake up, Adam.
Leave that in. So we actually, guys, we were talking it earlier. We want to have an upcoming show where we share a good portion of your calls. We've got a couple in the hopper. We need a few more. Give us a call at 931-44-BLITZ. Leave a voicemail with some burning question that you want to get our take on. Let us know what your take is. We'll play it on the air. We'll talk about it. We'll analyze it through and through. And we hopefully coming up in the next couple of weeks, if we can get a few more of you to call in, we'll have a mailbag show. We'll play your calls. We'll answer your questions and let everybody know what your opinion is too. So that's 931-44-BLITZ.
And give us your take on, is a hot dog a sandwich? Nick Goulis, if you're listening to the show,
there you go.
I need you to call in and give us your take and tell me why you think Adam is correct and Ben and I are wrong. But anyway, you can also email the show, sidelinewarningpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @SWTheShow. Follow Ben on Twitter @TheBenFoster. And Adam is tweeting, sort of?
I don't know. After this Josh Hader thing, I may never tweet again.
Okay, well, Adam is @RunTideRun. You can follow me as @DAdams419. Follow us on Instagram, SWTheShow. Find us on Facebook. We are also, find the Facebook fan group, Sideline Warning Facebook fan group. But guys, as always, we love you. We'll see you next week. And roll time. Hi, this is Dave. How do my levels sound?
Is that how you're going to talk on the show?
No. This is Dave. How do my levels sound? Are they good? Are they coming through loud and clear?
It's almost like the silver voice of the South.
Southeast.
The silver voice of the Southeast.
And it's golden, thank you.
Pewter.
The pewter voice. It is. I present to you the tin voice of the Southeast.
Yeah, as we've been doing this for 20 minutes already, we hadn't even started recording.
I present to you the nails on the chalkboard of the Southeast.
You were half asleep. It was kind of funny seeing your reaction.
As soon as Dave said, and that's our show, I looked over at Adam on the screen. I was like, Adam's about to get burned. Here it comes. I was like, Adam's not ready for the phone number question, and Dave definitely doesn't remember the phone number. I was like, it's happening.